Everyone, and yeah, welcome to another speed run. I haven't done one of these for a while. I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe, obviously, but I ain't gonna beg too much. And the idea of these speed runs is I started off at a crappy rating, and I'm gonna try to show you how to build your rating up and the typical kind of mistakes that are made at certain rating categories. And we've already got to 2276, so we're now in very good territory, and we're playing very good players. I'm also very good at finding cheats. Just call me the Kramnik of the speed run world. Don't you just love that guy? And we're going to start off now with the Black Lion. This is one of the most fun openings you can play. I don't think it's entirely sound, I'll be honest, but this is stage one of the Black Line to basically put your pieces like this, where you're playing at the moment quite in a cagey position, but you're getting ready to do stage two, which is this move, putting a pawn into the center of the board. And this is like your Spartan. This one pawn tries to take on the three. And my opponent's decided to take here, and that's okay. He can now capture again, where he can misplace my king, but this pawn can be a little bit weak later on. It's an isolated pawn, so we also have a very nice knight in the center of the board, so we don't mind that too much. Our king comes towards this square, and he shouldn't have exchanged there unless he had a follow-up in mind, because it frees my bishop up. So this is definitely the most consistent move. And now he can misplace my king. So let's see if he does that. He probably should do that. He's got to cause me some hassle. And this is where he's got to play with a bit of energy, because if he doesn't play with energy here, I can quite nicely consolidate my knight there and get a better position. So this is looking like the right way to play, with castles coming up. And I've got to do something with my knight now, or defend my knight. And I think defending my knight looks natural, developing a piece. And maybe my king can also come this way, because I've got to get out off the threat here. And there are quite a lot of immediate threats here, but if I can deal with these immediate threats, I will have a better position, because this pawn, as I say, is weak, and the square in front of that, this square, is good. Now I can already do something like knight d3 check and take that bishop. Now if I take on f3, he will take on d6. I will recapture. Also interesting. I've also got knight here, but then his knight comes in here check. I want this knight to defend this square. So maybe knight d3, bishop takes check is an option. I really would like to play knight g4, but this check just seems a bit too much. Maybe knight takes knight is the simplest way to play, but then I get a worse structure, and I don't really want to get a worse structure, even though even there it's probably absolutely fine. So I feel knight d3 is the key move, where I have to get rid of my blockader of this pawn. I'm going to get the bishop pair, but I still have a bit of pressure to absorb here, because okay, he's improved his pawn structure. I thought it was more natural to develop a piece there for him. He's got a nice pawn structure now, don't get me wrong, but he was putting quite a lot of pressure on me through his active pieces. Now I'd love to go knight g4, but again, whenever I move this knight, he has this big idea. So I'm doing a lot of threat detection here, and certain openings, certain variations, you have to do that. You have to absorb the pressure up, and you're temporarily on the back foot. But a lot of time when you're temporarily on the back foot, that will change because you have positional advantages. It's another way to play, and to be a good chess player, you have to be good at all different forms of chess, right? You can't just be a tactical player. You can't just be a positional player. You have to be good at every area of the game. Okay, so now my opponent is using his pawns. I'm not too worried about them at the moment. And this move looks very natural to me, and I'm going to play it now because I have an immediate threat. But this knight is quite tricky for him to deal with. I have two decent squares it's going to come into. Now, I wouldn't play a move like this if it was just a superficial idea which was easy to stop. You've got to think how your opponent's going to stop the threats. But it looks to me like I should win, well, not win, but be able to exchange off the other bishop, therefore getting 2 bishops versus 2 knights. Now, he might be all right there because he does have the strong center, but I do like the bishops, especially as the game prolongs. So this is probably a clever move, because maybe I can still come in and take on this square and try to grab that bishop. Is there a rush to do that? I don't know. I mean, bishop here, got to watch out for d5. Do I try to hold his pawns up with this, or do I bring a rook in? I quite like that move. I want to try to, because I don't think I should rush bringing this knight in. It's all right there. And I'm going to just put this rook here because I want to start hitting and preventing those pawns becoming too dangerous. Obviously, his knight's defending that pawn at the moment, but it puts a little bit of extra pressure on his center. And my king can always now find a very safe haven. So I've absorbed his pressure now, and we've got quite a tense middle game situation where he's got the better center. It can be weak in some situations, but it can also be strong. And I have the bishop pair here. So he continues to play what looks like very decent moves. And I've got to think, you've always got to try to put your pieces on the best squares possible. And it looks to me like somewhere like b6 makes the most sense, because I want to target that center. h6 is okay, but I don't feel it does much on that diagonal. So I'm going to play it around to where it has the best long-term potential, which I feel is the b6 square. And again, this knight here, I can always retreat if I need to, but this is something he has to consider at a lot of times. So it causes him some annoyance, this knight, at least. If he pushes me away, I can come back, then g3 is weak. I think it was worth playing this move. It's something he always has to think about. Okay, now as soon as someone puts their pawns in certain colour squares, the other colour squares become weak. So now my eyes are naturally drawn towards the light squares. So for a start, this bishop has 2 nice squares it can come to. Now, moving with a check cannot be a bad thing. So let's develop with a check. I mean, I can always come back here later. And I don't see any tactical solution. Let's say he moves his king with knight here. He moves his rook, and I'm not in a rush to swap this knight for this bishop. But I think I should go back to trying to make a weakness of these pawns, because now they're a bit more rigid. I don't think that was a very good move. When you have flexible pawns, you don't want to make them rigid. And what I mean by that now, neither of these pawns can move in an easy way without being lost. And I don't think you want to make them rigid unless you've got a good reason. Okay, but it's still a very tense situation. And now I feel I probably should come in. We should always play the most active move. Well, not always, but generally. And the reason I should come in is because, okay, I'm going to try and get the 2 bishops. This was always one of my ideas of the knight jump. And if he does move his rook, then my knight can come to b4, which seems like a good square because I have this check, but I also have this square. I think this was a bad move. It allowed me to free up my pieces, and as I said, it made his pawns rigid. He should have kept that flexibility with his pawns. But of course, this is still a very tense situation. Now, do we come this way and sit here, or do we keep on this diagonal? Both moves are quite tempting. It is indeed tense, this. I mean, I don't know which is best, but let's keep it on this diagonal, which looks quite useful. And this is the target I'm going to try to aim against. So I guess I'm going to double up. I might give my bishop a little cubby hole on h7. I mean, he could go knight here now, but he loses a pawn. So I'm just going to give it a cubby hole so it can always come back to h7. Then, like I said, I'm going to try to double up against his weakness here. And that is a weakness now. These pawns are kind of a little bit weak. Now, if he does, maybe he should be coming forwards, actually. Hence why maybe my bishop should have come to c4. Yeah, this is kind of annoying, right? Because his knight comes in. Yeah, I think I should have put my bishop to control that break. So rook d7 would be nice, but I've got to worry about this move then. Okay, I'm going to change ideas. I'm going to put my bishop back on this diagonal And hopefully I'm going to gain a useful tempo by doing it. So bishop on this diagonal didn't seem to be great. And actually this diagonal is maybe even better now because I also have the b3 square. So let's say I get rook here in. He plays rook d1. We have bishop b3, which should attack that rook and overload d4. Square's very important. Again, he can come in, but he loses a pawn. And the bishop certainly belongs on this square. I want to control this break because this is a weak pawn. I don't want him to swap it off. Okay, so now I can just come here. But then he goes here. Am I worried about this exchange? Not really. I have nice play. So I'm just going to go rook d7. Let's continue with the plan. Yeah, okay, he does get rid of the bishop, which is attacking that pawn. But my pawn structure, even though it becomes double, is I think quite pleasant there. And my light square bishop is controlling a lot of areas of the board. So his position again is not that bad, but I feel I'm a little bit better now. Little bit of pressure here. Maybe some chances to push over here. Maybe now my rook can swap directions. Maybe I should be playing this h6 move just to, again, nothing's going to happen quickly here. You have to have great patience at this level when you're playing someone who is 2200. They're very good players. And this is where you can't expect to win quickly. You've got to change your style of play somewhat. We've seen so far that in this series, I've won most of my games from my opponents making obvious errors and me capitalizing on them. But in chess, it's normally going to be a long, hard struggle. And you've got to have patience. And you just got to, if there's no rush, and there's no rush here because he has no pawn breaks. I love a situation where my opponent doesn't have pawn breaks. Then you have time. Okay, but he is also trying to improve his position here. So rook here, would I then be threatening c5? Maybe. So I don't think my rook, it looks quite attractive in the open file, but I don't think coming this way was as strong as piling up against d2. And I'm hoping now I create a little mini threat as c5. Of course, I could play slowly, but if there's a way that I can create a threat in a safe manner and potentially win a pawn, that makes a lot more sense. So we'll try to play with a purpose. And I'm also thinking maybe I even have h5 here to try and loosen up my bishop at some point instead of h6. I like h6 because it just stops his knight coming here. I feel my opponent would love to get his knight to it here, but this pawn is too weak. So this is a good move because c5 he can now take. I do have bishop here. I've just realised, loosening that knight up. And then his knight will come to this good square, g6. Does that help me? I feel it might do, because his knight is very good. I say h4, because I've got to really deal with it coming to f5 then. I don't want to allow the knight there, so I've got to cover this square. We've always got to consider where our opponent's pieces are going and stop them getting as good as they can. But my idea now is going back to the c5 point. His knight was defending his rook, so did not expect this one. So c5 now. Am I worried about him taking here? h6, knight here. Takes, rook takes. Or c5 immediately. Knight takes h7. Is he really going to play that? Pawn takes pawn. Looks pretty good for me, that as well. Which one do I like? Do I like the safer h6, knight here, when I probably have to swap off? And then have I got enough pressure against there? I can play c5, he defends. Maybe potential. Okay, I'm going to go for this one. It's a bit safer, but I don't know. Maybe I should have gone... The h7 pawn wasn't that relevant. Maybe I should have played c5 there. But okay, let's concentrate on this because time is getting a little bit low. And the point is, I'm just trying to keep it very simple. I don't want to allow that knight to come into d6. So I'm going to exchange. And again, it's the concept of one weakness. Now, I can play c5, king c3. And that is quite an interesting position there. And we're going to potentially go to a king and pawn ending. How's that king and pawn ending? Okay, I think I should play this move. He can't go d5 because I take. Now... it makes sense to improve my king, so let's do that. And he's in a bit of... he's a little bit stuck here, right? And my idea is to take at the right moment. But after the rooks come off, we're going to get a king and pawn ending. And he might be okay there, because his king can stay on these 3 squares. So, still a long way from winning here. So I shouldn't be in a rush to take this. Okay, I've got to watch out for the pawn coming here. Now I can maybe go b5. Takes, 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 check, king here. His king's getting quite active. Okay, this is an interesting situation. I mean, this is quite annoying. He gets a bit of counterplay. I don't want him to get any counterplay. But as soon as he goes here, I can take. Everything comes off, I take with a pawn. So let's go here, for example. Maybe now there's some b5 ideas with some... I'm just trying to cover the b5 square. And if I take here again, maybe I have rook c8 check to force his king backwards. So takes, let's say, takes. Takes, maybe this one captures, check. He's going to come into d7 there. So I might want to go here first, because after a check here and some exchanges, I cover the 7th rank. Had I done a check here, because I don't think I'm in a rush to do anything here. I could be wrong. See, yeah, so he's playing slow. So now my idea is to take here. And the point is, I want to check and I want to take on e5, but I don't want to allow rook to come to d7. So that's why I've just covered my 7th rank. And now we're going to see my idea, which is to capture here. Okay, but his king's coming into this square. How did I miss that one? That was stupid of me. Wasn't it? And this one, yeah, my pawns are actually quite weak here. I wanted to check and take here. Is that okay, I think we've got to do this, but I'm a bit worried his king's going to be quite active here. So my point, this is my point all along, that I take here and I stop this move. But I'm even thinking he might better go king takes b6 here. I'm kind of letting this one slip. And he has. There's no tactical solution here. Takes, takes. Oh, dear. Here. h5. Takes f5. Okay, so that doesn't win. Here, rook here. Okay, let's play a bit quicker. Don't like this move. It's too passive. I don't like putting my rook passive in the ending. Maybe I had something clever there, but I've got to now play blitz chess. And I rushed that. I rushed that little exchange there. That was a bad idea. I missed that he had this king b6 with tempo. And now I'm going to play this. Oh, fuck. Just allowed this check. Okay, maybe king here keeps me all right. But I played that. Okay, now I need to get a passed pawn. At the moment, just getting a passed pawn is the most important thing. If he goes here, I'm going to take... Okay, so, yeah, we're racing. Here, takes, here, takes, here, 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 here. Okay, so let's get the king. Which way do we go with the king? Pawn here, check here, takes, f3 here. I queen first, he queens. Queen b5 check, probably a draw, but okay, he's played well. I think I need to do this move. And he should take the rooks off now and take on b7 when it should, and he's played it. It should be a draw. And we, of course, we'll play this on a little bit. Do we? Okay, let's play it on a little bit. Very risky. I probably should just take the draw there, of course. But we don't want to do that. He's played very well, so I can't be critical. And I could easily lose this, actually, as I'm realizing now. I shouldn't lose this, but I'm very short of time. And we're just going to secure the draw here. Well played to my opponent. I messed that up, but he played well. So all things good there. And yeah, I'm such a cheapskate that I'm doing this on my free account, and you can see here on the full board that we don't get. Do we get a game review? Let's have a look. See if we get a game review. Let's see what the percentages are. I mean, you know, I mean, you can't really complain when you're both getting that kind of accuracy. We know what Kramnik would say there, don't we, boys and girls? 2186 getting a 94.4% accuracy. Very suspicious. Well, he either had the game of his life, or I guess he's a cheat. But he probably just played very well. I don't think he played perfect chess. He played quite a lot of mistakes, I felt. And maybe it was just a very good game of chess. So, which is nice to have. And we won't have a look at the game review, but I mean, I think the one, you know, some moments where things start to go wrong for him. Well, first of all, as we can see here, and let's put my face back. We don't need to have the computer's assessment, really, I feel, because the computer didn't really give anything of worth there. But this was the first move. Now, when you have pawns next to each other, especially in the center, you want to keep your pawns as flexible as you can. Now, there is often a temptation to make the pawns rigid just to get them moving in a certain respect, which e5 does. But you should always try to keep your pawns flexible, and you want to keep as many options available as you can in intense situations. And as soon as he plays this, he loses a lot of options, and he makes my light square bishop a lot stronger, as we saw in the game. Had he kept the pawn there, I think the game is well in balance, and these pawns, maybe he can play d5 because it's supported there. So this was a big mistake. Now later on, even though the computer reckoned the ending was always even, the computer is not always correct. Maybe it's not on high enough setting, because it's clear around here that he's the one who has to defend this position. And I think everything was played okay, but I rushed at this point. Maybe this is still okay. Actually, the computer does think I'm doing well here. We'll go back to just seeing what it's... I don't know. I don't think the computer really knows what's going on. Aha, this was an inaccuracy. So I'm going to show this in a minute. This was an inaccuracy. This was an inaccuracy. Cool. Well, I don't know about this. Okay, so the computer thinks after a4 we made a lot of mistakes there. So I'm just wondering what we should do. One thing I would recommend, it's actually good having this free account, because I can't be lazy. And you should always be doing this. This is one of the big issues I have nowadays with chess improvement. One of the big issues is, you know, laziness. You know, I do it all the time. I'm a grandmaster. I don't need to prove to be a grandmaster again, or even improve. I don't really care. Even though I'd like to improve at some point. It takes a lot of effort and hard work. But one of the things is we can just turn the computer on, we can look at our games and see where we went wrong and go, oh yeah, I should have done that. But that's not really teaching us much unless it's in the opening and we can apply it again. What you should be doing is you should be realizing whereabouts the game started turning, and not turning the computer on. And around here we know that it started to get quite equal, and I should be thinking, well, I do have an edge, he can't move. How am I playing this position? What did I do wrong? I know I rushed it, but how do I play it instead of playing a move like this? And this is the kind of thing you should really work on without a computer, because what's the computer going to teach you? It's just going to give you the jump start. Try to work it out yourself, and then when you've really come to a conclusion, which could take ages, then turn on the computer, because then you'll at least learn how to calculate better, analyze better, and to assess positions better. The computer will tell you if you're right or wrong afterwards, but don't turn the computer on straight away. And saying that, so here, what should I play? This is a good question. And it says this is a mistake. I mean, should I be taking here? Should I be trying to make some improvements? Maybe I should be going g6 and h5 first, because then in the endings I already had the passed f pawn. So this is quite a human way to play. The way the game went, we saw that it was down to one tempo, and we saw at some moment that I played the move h5 because I need to get a passed pawn, right? He's got a very easy way to get a passed pawn, and this was maybe quite clever move. I was a bit more worried about this check, but the idea is I need to get a passed pawn. So a logical human way to think, and I don't know if this is the right way to play at all, but you know, something like g6 here could have been quite interesting. And the point of this is, and I don't know if I truly believe it, but the point of this is to maybe play h5. And let's say he now, I guess he can go g5. But my idea was if we get the same kind of thing as this, when I do these exchanges here, I have a pass f pawn. So that's kind of the way that you should be thinking. But I'm actually going to leave that to you now. We're going to end the video now. Please like and subscribe. To maybe you can suggest to me in this position, what plan should I have implemented? Can you improve on my play? This is a good training position. I'm not going to try to work it out now because it will take me a bit of time. It will take me 5-10 minutes at least to come up with the right idea, because I need to look at all the lines and I don't want to waste your time by doing it now. Anyway, please like, subscribe. Cheers. I've got a new chessball course out on the Reti Part 2. So you can go and check that out if you want to. 20-hour course, great opening. We'll try and play that in some of our games soon. And yeah, bye for now.